Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I want to remind everybody that it's hard to hear in this gym, so if you could speak loudly, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Item 1B, audience introductions. Welcome, thank you for being here. All right, approval of agenda. Move item 60C, staff resignations, to 3B. Information for the board instead of board action. And then can we also move item 6A, student and staff handbook, up to the consent agenda, so that would be item 5C. Anybody opposed to that? Since we just discussed it in our work session. Are you comfortable with that, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. They have I think we could add with the edit that was with the edit that was discussed. Okay, so can I get a motion? I move to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with noted changes. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda with changes passes. Item 3. This is information for the board. 3A would be spotlight on education.
So I wanted to talk about our students who participated in the fair. We had quite a few, and we had some that showed really well. Two off the top, that stood out even more and competed against each other in the final grand showmanship the other day. But Jenna Tompkins and Joseph Alger did quite well. Joseph, I know, sold his steer for $8 a pound the other day, and was pretty excited about that. They'll be going on to the state fair. And then Jenna did well in a lot of different categories. I mean, really, it's outstanding. I'll pass that email along to you from McKenna, but it's always great to be able to see the kids participate in the county fair, and some go on to the state fair, but it's nice to see them be able to do that at the local level. And it was I think people felt it was a much better situation this year than last year, obviously, and just the ability to feel like it was a little bit more normal. So congratulations again to our students who participated. It's a highlight of the summer for sure for some of these kids who put in a lot of hours over the year to make this happen, and really over the years. I mean, Joseph does a lot of work to show his fears, and I know he's not the only one. There's a lot of kids before him who have done the same thing, and I know Tracy Tish's family with Lorraine, she's put in a lot of time with a lot of our Perrydale kids over the years, showing different spheres, and has worked really well with those kids in 4-H, and that's translated into our FFA program. And then McKenna Hansen is helping out with the FFA, especially with the genomics community. And McKenna did a great job. In fact, they got a text message from one of the parents who just said, "Hey, this young lady did a fantastic job helping out our kids this weekend." And I'm really, really excited to have that person on board at our school this year. And send a picture of McKenna with her daughter and just said this is great. So,
McKenna is.
so when they're in middle school, she filled in for the rest of the year for Mr. Brown, and then she'll be working with our middle school social language arts mostly, and then also some of our high school, middle school ag and shop classes. So anyway, that was the first part of the spotlight on education, because even during the summer, those kids are participating in the learning and hopefully making a little bit of money. I don't know if they're going to make too much in the goat realm, but Joseph will. It sounds like with the steer. So I think he said the steer was about 1,500 pounds. So that's a pretty good chunk of change right there. Yeah. So that's great. And then we also had, some departures, and we'll talk about that here and information for the board. But I just wanted to say thank you to those staff that are, moving on and either doing something different. We have a longtime assistant with Laura, who's going to be moving on to Tammy, doing what she's looking to do with her career, and that is some, counseling type services, and going through the program for that right now and was last year. So we're excited that some of our staff are going on to do some of those things, and Denise is unfortunately had to go through the passing of a family member, and she's the executive with the state, and she's throttling back a little bit, not doing volleyball now, and then she and her husband, just sold some of their farmland and stuff, so they're just getting close to that time. But I really wanted to say thank you to both of them for the time and effort that they put in at our school. We really appreciate all that they've done. I know Denise started here as a coach, and then she went on to help out in the office and did both. So, those would be some tough shoes to fill. We had another staff member today that told us that works with some of our students with disabilities, and it looks like they may be doing that same retirement type thing. So, it's just that. Sure. So we just have, some attrition, and that happens, but it's for some good reason. People retiring or people moving on to another opportunity with their career. So, we wish them the best and thank them, and we're excited about some of the other people we also have coming on board. We have, again, in 5th grade, Mrs. Wilson's going to be filling that spot that Mrs. Jepson, left behind. And what? Oh, I thought somebody else said something. And then we have in 3rd grade, Brittany Matthews, who was subbed here previously, and then also we have in 2nd grade Miss N to filled in the rest of last year. She'll be taking over, full time in 2nd grade. And then, that's coming. So, and then in 6th grade we have Mrs. Parks, Miss Parks, who again is from Idaho. She'll be moving in there. Alex Gravers sliding into that math spot, the math specialist, which we're excited about. Those are some good changes with being able to provide that opportunity for that math instruction person to help out, and then Mrs. Hanson doing that. So those are, some exciting things, and, again, it's sad to see people leave, but we're happy that we're, able to have some other people come in that be open. We feel are going to do a really good job. So that's what I wanted to make sure I talked about. We'll be sending that out. I talked with Christy earlier today. We wanted to wait till after this meeting today, but and then we found out about Cindy's situation, so it may be a little bit later. But we'll be sending out an email newsletter this week, so that way families have an idea of who's going to be in what position, and then also send an updated copy of the handbook as well. Any questions on Spotlight on Education? Okay, great.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
There was even some of our students that won ribbons for their Lego entries.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
They're all over the board. So we had a lot of people from old to young win ribbons and really enjoy the fair and entering that kind of thing this year. So
yeah, that's great. I don't really know about all the 4-H ones.
No.
Just about the
I don't think it's a 4-H one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But that's great. I know sometimes we have students do photography
Yeah.
as well as
Yeah.
baking.
Right.
So
These were Legos. So, and they done one ribbon for them, so it was great.
Right.
Okay, item 3B1, HMK report.
Floor is yours, gentlemen.
Good evening. This month, the month of August, we have completed our third phase of design. So that's SD100. The conclusion of this third phase, we moved into cost estimating, where we submit the design editors to they've spent about 2 to 3 weeks working through the scope as they understand it and come up with a price based on what they see in the market. So they draw from a lot of projects around our area to give us an idea of what the cost of the project is going to be. We received that cost estimate last week, and we are now moving into the cost reconciliation phase, where we meet the cost estimate and design team and go through it and ensure that the cost estimator captured everything correctly and understood it correctly. So we also start looking through it and reduce scope or change things to make them more cost after that, we can move into a review with your design committee and probably present it to you at the next meeting.
We were supposed to be a meeting today, but Marlene couldn't attend that, and we wanted her there. So the meeting to go over whatever the estimate is going to be on Thursday. And then the idea then after that, we wanted to make sure that the board wanted us to get the band back together with the people that helped out the design committee, and then look at what that looks like and see if they have recommendations.
What's the design? Who's on the design
That
committee?
group the group that came and met with us to look at the design, the pack, your
I was
pack.
gonna say our pack. Okay.
Yeah. So the pack. So then get the pack back together to look at that and go over it and then report to the board. Is that a fair thing to do? And we will ask them. We knew that some of them are pretty busy right now with their jobs, so we're hoping that things have died down, just like with some of you in this room. Hopefully things will die down, over this next couple of weeks so they can get back together and then report back to the board. Okay.
You said that estimate will be done on Thursday.
The meeting for that,
The
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Just to go over it.
Yeah.
Right. It's done already. It's done already, right?
And then we'll go over it, and then any decisions on design will be made with that group. So, and then board report. Anything else, Paul?
After this phase, we'll be moving into our next phase, which is called DED, or design development. So we start fleshing out the design, start picking fixtures, paint fixtures, colors, all that sort of thing. So start creating the list of specifications of what it is. So we're moving forward. Also, we are the IRC for begin the design portion of the project.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, item 3B2, superintendent report.
Yeah, so we're just talking about how our school year is quickly approaching. Our staff will be back in the building in a couple weeks, and then our students that following week after that. We're looking forward to that. Obviously there's been some uncertainty and stuff the last few weeks, but coming off summer school, which was a great opportunity for half our kids to then get back in the building starting in September. I think that's going to be an exciting time for all of us. And just being able to rearrange with our families, re-engage, with our families is going to be a priority. As you know, we talked about that as one of our goals for the district, and looking forward to having some of those opportunities. So we're one of the first ones, as Jessica was talking about earlier, is going to be that barbecue that we've had in the years past, and trying to couple that with some other activities that she was mentioning, plus the football game. So we're hoping to get some of our community back, feeling like they're able to connect with the school a little bit more, and looking forward to that. So, also, it talked about corn feeds and homecoming floats and a greater sense of camaraderie. We're really excited to have those traditions come back, and then students are going to have those opportunities to interact with their classmates in small groups and working as a team to make sure that they're able to problem solve and create strides, etc. So just looking forward to having that sense of school again and everybody together. It's a big day to be able to get those kids in the building in the spring and then into the summer for those who chose to participate. Positive outlook overall. I mean, that's really where we are right now.
Item 3B, elementary report.
Really, Dan covered a lot of mine again.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
You need to read mine ahead of time.
I did, actually. I forgot. I read it last week.
But really, the only thing I can really add to that is summer school finished strong, and some of the highlights, and we've talked about, but the ending highlights since our last meeting, we took the entire group to the beach, and I've never taken a group of elementary kiddos that large to the beach, and that worked out really well. Definitely something to do again. We had a lot of fun, just not enough time. And then the last day, our water slide was a hit. Dan and Mr. Dieters were the only ones that did not ride it. All the staff, all the kids rode multiple times, and we just had a really great time. So, again, it was that feeling of normalcy that we've all been longing for.
And we actually even had a
Mechanical
bowl. So it had a big target bullseye. So one or two of you may have been invited, but it may be something for a board work session again.
Oh, yeah.
Retreat. I think some of you would be on board with that with some press cups.
The kids really did have a great time, and it was fun watching the older kids helping the younger kids, riding the slide with the younger kids, and it was just a mixture of some bonding that we just haven't been able to see in a while. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you. 3B4, special education report,
My count is the same as it was last month, which I think was 30.
which is what you told us it would be.
Yep, for the next, probably next month too.
All right, item 3B5, facility report. Do we need to?
Any questions on that? I will say that summer school, that was probably the one downfall of it. It was pretty tough to really get in there and get rolling with some of the classrooms and making some changes back this year. So, and moving people around to modulars, etc. I know that Chris is pretty concerned about that, for our teachers and making sure we're giving them that time. So we're trying to build that in with our in-service, and these two have made sure that we keep trying to address that time for the teacher to get back in the classroom and working on stuff. But overall, again, Troy's working on stuff. Him and his crew are doing a good job of trying to keep this place really clean. In fact, I had a comment from somebody the other day that there's a lot of different facilities that said, your guys' facility is really nice. I mean, for it not being real new and stuff, it's very well kept. And I think it's had that tradition for a long time, or that look of it for a long time. But it was always good to hear an outsider say that, especially somebody that sees a lot of different school people.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. The least favorite topic of the night, 3C, policy, first reading.
Does everybody have their policies? That's true. It really is true. Yes. That's it. So we met with the policy committee on Wednesday and looked at these items. Most of these are required. One of these, the top one, actually was highly recommended This first one is just a replacement there were 4 options before, and now there's just one.
Is it okay if we go ahead and just take over here for you?
Yeah,
Perfect.
please do. I thought you wanted me to.
No, I'm about delegations tonight. So go ahead.
We're doing first reading.
Yeah, first reading. And I think what we should do is just go through them each real quick and just tell them with the bracketed language we had, and then
Sure.
at the end of each policy, let's let them ask any questions.
So the first one, CBA. On this one, we all of this stuff is crossed out here. Obviously, that goes. But this bracketed language, we like that. The first paragraph. I don't know if you guys want to review that really quick, and if you have any questions on that first bracketed language there. Do you want me to physically read the whole thing?
You don't have to. Everybody's looking at it, but you
Yeah.
can if you want to.
No, but if you have any questions, it was really well worded, and we liked how it came out. So, on number 1 there,
CBA is highly recommended, but
It is.
it's not required.
but we liked it. I mean, I don't. So on same thing on number 1, we were okay with the recommendation there that the wording that they put in there. Same with number 2. Everything else there is the same. 3 and 4. The paragraph after number 4 there. Again, it was just some wording that they changed. So we were all okay with that. If you guys want to go over to the next page, same thing. The little highlights is what was the changes there. So we were okay with them saying of the district. Were these retyped? Did you make any of the changes to retype them?
Yeah, what's that?
I just want, they just are a little different than what my notes were, so I just was making sure.
No, so with the red strikeout may not have shown up on the electronic copy that
Okay.
you had,
Okay,
but when you print them out, the red appears on the electronic.
Okay.
It's hidden with like a red line to the left. That
Right.
fouled me up a lot too. I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I had a
what's
hard time with that. I read over and
that? Yeah.
okay, so keep going, special functions, we were okay with that. Number 3, the district chief admin officer, administrative officer, we were good with that. On number 5, that's just a policy reference there at the end. Number 6, just crossing out some more language. And then we liked number 9 where it said regularly instead of annually. Go to number 3, page 3 on that. On number 11, same thing. We liked the wording change. Everything else is the same until number 16. Crossing out some more wording there. And then that's all for that policy. Any questions on that, or you guys reviewed that? It was pretty straightforward, and so we liked that one. The next one, IIBD.
Christy had a
Oh, yeah.
comment.
Is it accurate? I'm looking. Let me me look back to see where it is. Yeah, so on page 1, the first number 2,
Mhm.
a master's degree or higher in the field of education, preferably in educational administration. Is that accurate?
So it's a master's degree or higher field education, and then what most of the licensure programs are, like the two that I went through, were actually, those aren't their own masters. So they're a 27 credit program
Right.
for each one. So,
But it's saying that that wording sounds like that doesn't have to be held.
but you would have, you do have a master's degree or higher in the field of education.
Right.
So you have your master's degree, and then you go on and you do that licensure. So
It doesn't state that though.
I think
I
the
get what you're saying.
I think the word preferably makes it sound like there's
Looks like it's not
wiggle
required.
room, like maybe yes, maybe no. That was language that was in from the last time. I get that, but I didn't review that.
yeah, so you don't have to, your master's doesn't have to be in educational administration.
Right.
They just say preferably.
I see.
So you have something.
But it's not saying that you don't have to have something.
Yeah. So
You just don't want that work to not be honored, I guess.
no, definitely not.
Are you okay with keeping that like it is, the wording there, or do you?
Oh, I have no
want-
problem with it. I was just clarifying.
I was gonna say, or we could just write or educational administration.
Well, isn't it
You definitely have to do
technically
your
a
program.
certificate?
It is.
It is. So it's a separate licensure.
And below the first number 4, it talked about it, but now it strikes it all out.
Yeah.
See, no. That's why I'm asking if they've been edited, because it was a little different.
It's interesting.
I like that it gives them flexibility.
But in the previous policy,
That
that
it could be incorporated.
yeah, that end piece that you all added wasn't there. It just stopped at the strikeout, but I'm sorry, number 2.
Yeah, but go down to the paragraph after number 4.
Yeah, and in lieu of the experience and training.
So right now it says in lieu of the experience and training requirements above, the board may consider as a candidate for its superintendent position an individual who meets transitional administrator or exceptional administrator license requirements.
I wonder
then-
too if that's coming because there is a transition right now. They have restructured a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So I
So that's
wonder if
why
that's
it's
where
just a
some of this
different-
wording is coming
It's
from.
just
I
a
just don't know.
different licensure name.
Right.
So that's why.
Right.
And then after that's all the OARs. are
Yeah, that
listed
makes
below.
sense now.
Yeah, it just simplifies it. So we were okay with that because it came recommended from OSBA like that. So
Right.
with it being a highly recommended policy, we take that into consideration. I think I do. So
Well, and we have it already.
yeah, and that was the other thing. So yeah. Okay, the policy IIBGA, page 1. We crossed out the first paragraph there with the board and just started it with the district electronic communication there. Well, I guess there's a little note at the top there that they recommended about the district participating in the federal E-rate program. So we like that one. We were okay with the cross off.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So on these, did you adopt like the OSBA policy for blanket, or did you make changes to what their? Because I'd be kind of curious the changes that were made. I mean, it was hard. That's where I had a hard time reading what was like. What did they send, and
What you're looking at is what
or
they
is that
said.
edits from them? It's not them like editing other
It's
older
them.
policies. Okay.
Them editing, and then we if we want to change something, if we want something different, we take it to legal. Make
Okay,
sure-
So that's
So
why
these
this is the
all
first
came from
reading.
them.
Yes, except
you.
for number 5 where it says social media. It says ensuring safety and security minors when using email, social media, chat room, and other forms of direct electronic communication. We don't really have access to their social media, and that's why it is bracketed, so schools can choose it. You'll see there's not a strike through, so I made that bold to show that we didn't, or I mean, I put that in red to show that we didn't do it. Notice it doesn't have to strike through though. So anything with the strike through does come from OSBA. And as Jim was talking about, we do participate in the E-rate program. I think we get about $3,000 a year, somewhere around there. So we still have to make sure we follow all those rules because we do receive funding from them.
Okay, but on number 5, we opted not to use that wording, right?
The social
Right.
media, yeah, we
Right.
chose not to put social media in
So-
there because we
so-
don't have access to that.
So then, after this first reading, anything that we add in, you'll see some other policies where we've added our wording, that will be sent to legal for
Okay.
their,
Only if we choose something different than the bracket.
okay, I see. I think on this other one we may have, but. Okay. Does that help at all? Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, so everything there we liked. We didn't like the social media part. We took that part out, or we didn't want to adopt that part. At the very end, where the paragraph is strike through, we were okay with that. And then the recommended little highlight at the very bottom, if the district allows the staff to download that little paragraph there, we're okay with that as well. On the next page is a couple of,
And that's highlighted, so that's from OSBA.
yeah, it is. And that's why, the next page is just some, edits and stuff, for the first couple of paragraphs. The first bracketed language there, the Education Service District, we were okay with that. And then there's another paragraph that's been crossed out about the superintendent there. We were okay with that. There's a lot of, again, edits for the will and the may there. That was fine. That's just cleaning it up a little bit. So any questions on that policy? Next one is the IIBGA, the AR. This is the one where we were having to buckle up for. This was the 14 page. It was interesting. So this, again, the top paragraph comes recommended from OCA there. So we're okay with that one. Down at number 3, that was just, we're adding the word and there. We already have that language. Number 5, there's some bracketed language there.
Well, this is new, so we don't already have it.
This entire policy?
Yes.
Oh, the AR?
Yeah, we don't have this policy. This is all recommended by OSBA.
Oh, I thought, so
The AR goes with the policy.
okay.
The
Gotcha.
policy, the AR is the like application.
Okay, so do you want me to go through a little bit more then? So these are just the, again, about the technology and stuff, and it's so hard, it changes and all different kinds of things like that. We were okay with these two. These were the recommended ones.
2 out of the 3 of us
Yeah,
were
that's
okay with it.
So, well, we had gone over this once before as well, so.
Right, we've gone through it twice.
Yeah, so anyway,
Again, I'm gonna ask another question, because these brackets just,
They're,
Are
so the
annoying.
brackets are like optional
Yeah.
suggestions. And so everywhere here on this first page, you all are recommending to use the bracketed language?
Let me go.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 is recommending to use
Yeah.
that bracket language
Okay.
and move this on to a first reading. I would say this is a very cumbersome policy, and we probably should have a work session on it.
Yeah,
Down with
this
that.
one is a
Huh?
this one's
Down
a
with that.
huge one.
It's
So
a very, yeah,
it would totally be
really involved. It's very involved with a lot of policy in this one policy, and I wonder if the $3,000 is worth it.
See, I thought it was because of all the red and stuff. I thought it was an existing one.
No, we don't have this policy currently.
At all?
They
And the
probably
previous,
have it, and then they're
Oh,
updating
I
their
see. I see. I see.
and we previously chose to not accept the previous one.
Well, I'm fine with the work session. If that works
Yeah,
out
I
for
think
everybody
this
else.
would be better to dive in. It's huge. It covers so much. So what?
That's the best we need.
Dive in.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'll put down IIBGA and its
And its AR.
associate AR
Mhm.
for a work session.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So moving on to the next one, policy JB. I didn't have my first page of notes with me for that. Sorry. This
JB,
one,
we chose no.
right.
What was that?
JB, you chose no bracket. Then
Okay.
Yeah, we started with the no student will be excluded from participating, not doing that other bracket.
and JB we do currently have. We already have JB. Yeah.
Yeah, the difference there is that one was more focused on Title IX. This one's just talking about everybody. So
It'd be a replacement.
yeah. You can see the only one really added on top of socioeconomic status.
In that first paragraph. Yeah. And then you see the highlight there in yellow. So we said no on that one. Or do you
Well,
first-
that's where it would start.
right.
So, yeah, the paragraph starts.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
only real
then,
option is that other part with, as Trina said, we didn't have the bracketed language.
Right.
then not accepting the bracket, the next set, a student or parent.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have it.
And we talked about waiting on this one until the policy came out in November. Do you remember that?
There were some other ones that were the ones we were talking about. This one was a little
It's
different.
like, yeah.
JB, are you sure?
Yeah, there was, I don't have the,
JB has an OAR that's probably going to be affected, and we'll have a change in the next policy packet.
okay, and then there's the other ones that would be coming out. What were the ones above that? On the top of it?
Well, those are the child development and graduation ones.
Looking at the wrong one. Can I come look over there?
Sure. Are you talking about JFCM, threat to violence?
No.
No, we didn't chose that one to be read for the first reading because we were waiting till November. So it's not even in here.
We talked about it in the meeting because I told you guys there's new stuff coming out this fall in the policy packet.
Well, then that's,
For the equal rights.
then that's totally,
But we can,
it makes sense to hold off then because it doesn't, I mean, we're right around the corner here. So,
And if I misunderstood you, I apologize. I thought you were talking about the other two up on top.
I thought we were talking about all three. But I'm good with this one being first reading. I'm good with that. I don't care. It's required either way.
And it's to replace the one in its making it so it's not so heavy just on Title IX. It would include Title IX, obviously,
It includes all,
issues, but
yeah.
it includes everybody.
Okay, so do you want to, do we have any questions on this then? Or do we want to go,
Anybody, are you guys okay with not choosing the bracket language?
yeah, that's what I had down, is that we wouldn't choose that. There's a couple recommendations of just wording in there that's okay. And then,
So we're using slash adding the bracketed language or not?
No.
No.
Well, that's what's on the table, but
yeah, I think as a first reading, that's what we,
But, you know, you guys are probably team too, so if you look over it and feel that you want that thing in that bracket language, just bring that to the second reading, okay?
you guys ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
So the JFCM, threat to violence. Again, the,
Wait, what about in the back, there was the,
she accidentally put it on
It goes
that.
with a different one, doesn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah, that's part of the other one, yeah.
that's what I
and we had edited that too, so that's, we're trying to see if you're paying attention, Katie. You are. Yeah, the JFCM, we were just changing, this to,
it's updated lately.
So recommending using superintendent or designate over principal.
right, and the reason why we wanted to put designee in there is because it could be somebody other than the superintendent here, you know, whatever. So that's a lot of them, it's just changing out that word principal.
Parent or guardian.
Why is that last paragraph not changed out then when it says the principal again?
He, she, the principal.
I don't know.
Well,
what it
and
is.
at the very beginning of that paragraph, it says the principal again.
It does, right?
It is interesting that they said that.
Right, but they didn't offer that as the, you know, as the other one.
But we can change
We
that.
need, yeah,
Yeah,
we need to make it the same so it's consistent like that.
I appreciate that at school is designated.
Yes.
That's important. We talked about that before.
Also on the first page, in the middle above the numbers section, it says the principal shall.
Yeah.
We're at Katie.
So in the middle of the first page, you know, it's the 1, 2, 3
Uh-huh.
bullet. It says the principal shall.
Oh, I see it. So do we want to call this one a first reading with those changes?
Yeah, I think it's just some updated stuff, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, Jen, two more.
All right, JH8, student suicide prevention. This one is listed on OSBA as a recommended policy. I thought this one out to see if it was something that we needed here at Perrydale. I think there's programs and such that are in place as well. So I don't know where that required comes in.
It's not required.
It's listed
It's
on
recommend-
OSBA as required.
Recommended.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't currently have it.
We don't. So my thought on this was just trying to, a lot of the parents that had came to our board meeting and talked about the mental health of their students and stuff. And for me personally, I know it's always a good idea to have a plan in place. Doesn't mean that we necessarily have to have a policy saying that we have a plan. There could already be a plan in place. I know Trina gave us some background on this, that you guys had read over this once before, and it wasn't something that you guys had adopted before, but any more information would be great.
I think the biggest reason we did not adopt it was how it kind of didn't give any leeway. It has to be this approach. And when you're dealing with individual children, sometimes it has to be approached differently for that person, that individual's needs.
Yeah.
And I think that was the direction we went at the time, and why we did not adopt this policy the first time. So that way we give administration the ability to deal with each child's needs one-on-one at that time.
So I'm just really torn. I'm just bringing it to you guys again. As the policy committee, 2 of the 3 of us liked it, but we wanted just to bring it as a first reading to see what you guys think, if it's something that we need to have. One student is, to me, is too many. So I've always felt like you have to have a plan in place. But again, we could have something going without it being on policy. So
Do we want to?
The first paragraph, the first sentence is very alarming to me. The district shall develop a comprehensive student suicide prevention plan for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. I am not a fan of having a comprehensive suicide prevention plan for kindergartners. I would rather that instead of having policy, that we have a procedure and that the administration has a plan in place and works with the specialists who know this. And I'm fine with even a policy that meeting with the specialists say, hey, this, and this, I think you probably need to require that your district stays on top of. But this is a pretty pigeonholed policy. And one of the things we've always been proud about at Perrydale is our ability to work independently with each of our students and their families and their needs. That's not saying that we don't have a procedure, and we should have procedure. I just don't know that policy, which changes every legislative session and every time we have a new governor, or every time somebody has an idea, is a good idea. I'd rather leave it up to the professionals that know how we should be handling it to give us guidelines of how we should handle a procedure and a precedent here at the school. But I'm open to discussing it further and maybe moving it to a work session.
So like I said, I'm really torn. So at first I was all for. I think my biggest thing is just that communication with the parents and making sure that the procedure for this is known. So I thought that had to come in a policy. But if it doesn't have to come in a policy, if it's a procedure that is, and it can be for, each of the different kids are a little different, but the parents should at least know, if they have some concerns or if they're not even aware yet, what those procedures should be or are. So again, I like it. I think that it can be age appropriate for kindergarten through 12th grade, you know. I think that if we wanted to move the grades up a little bit, you know, start at third or fourth grade, but I feel like
Would it be possible to move this one also to a work session? Just, I'm also uncomfortable with, when I read it, with the age piece on it, but I think it would also be helpful to know, what the other, like, what
Right.
just programs are in place,
Right.
and do we really need a policy in this area or not?
I already moved this to my work session pile. I knew that.
Perfect.
I do too, like particularly number 4 and number 5 too, I feel would be great to discuss with the Polk County mental health therapist and the specialist who's there to guide us on it. Versus making policy that our admin has to follow that maybe isn't the best.
I totally trust our professionals, so that's why I'm torn with that one now, is because it just, as long as I think we know that it's being handled, what the procedures are and stuff, then that's where the goal is met. So, okay, last one is policy KK, visitors to the district facilities. We really liked this one just because it was really clear. We did take some stuff out. What did we take out of this for, hold on, let me,
This was the one that he had sent me directly. We didn't.
oh,
have-
yeah. No, we did like this one, that's right.
So the one prior to this was, Amber,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, you have it up there, 2007, I believe, is when the last KK policy was done. So that was 5 years before Sandy Hook. And things have just changed a little bit over that time. And
2007, right?
yeah, and so it is a little vague with the other policy. And this one is, this one's a little bit more defined. Again, that doesn't mean we don't want, we just added that whole section about,
Yeah,
chaperones and
Yeah.
volunteers, and our goal is to get people involved. But again, I use an example. I had a person who came this year in the spring that just showed up at the school and wanted to come talk to me about some stuff that it doesn't have any kids here. It said he was part of the community. I mean, I obviously sat down and talked with him, but just wanted to come in and start looking at some classes. And, that we weren't able to have visitors this year, as you know, but our other policy, technically, he could.
right.
And so that's kind of unsettling if we don't know who this person is. I mean, if something did happen, I think every turn in the.
They don't have to.
What's
Right.
that?
You don't have to let them. you
No,
don't have
I
a policy
agree.
for it.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying that it was a little vague in the other one before.
Well,
And that
yeah.
other one, 2007. So that's why we looked at this one. This was the most recent one they had from OSBA.
We also talked about how we really, again, we didn't want this to stop parents or visitors from wanting to come into the school, just knowing that there's a right and a wrong way to do it, is so that's the only thing. And again, it goes back to trying to protect those kids while we're here, and just being a little more thorough about some of this helps us feel like we're doing that with the visitors that come onto our campus. So.
And Dan, you're the one that brought this one forward, right?
Yes, just because when we were looking at it with doing the handbook stuff, when we were looking at trying to, have a section on volunteers and chaperones, etc., we looked back at this policy because we were trying to reference it. It was right there in that handbook.
It's like a paragraph long.
And so we just saw that and went, it probably needs to look being updated. So that's why I reached out to OSBA, because I knew they had the language, to see if there was an update, and this is what they had sent. So assuming that's the most recent copy, because that's what they sent.
How are you feeling about it? Any questions?
Feeling like there's a fine line between security and leaving the school open. We've talked about this before, where if we leave it too open, is there a danger there to kids on the school ground? if we close it off too much, have we just shut parents out of their kid education? So this one's tough because
So do you compare it to the old one though? Is that
yeah, the
one
old one doesn't
sufficient?
have much.
Yeah.
It's like 4 sentences.
Yeah, so that's what we were feeling, like that wasn't sufficient. And maybe this one has too much. Maybe we do need to take some things out of it. But we liked just how thorough it went, and you know, parents can walk through that office and they know them, and you know, it's no big deal. We're watching out for the people we don't know, these people that show up unannounced.
And that was
And,
just one example, but yeah.
well, yeah, but you know, that kind of thing. So, it is. You guys, we're more than welcome to put it to the work session as well if you want to. How's everyone feeling about that?
Yeah, I kind of would like to read it a little bit more through. I didn't get a chance to read
Sure.
this before, and this is one that I'm kind of,
We have a work session going, so let's put it on that file.
can we please?
It might not be a bad idea, because we did turn this one down once before.
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen the updated one then.
This is from 2017.
So you've seen it once before. Interesting.
I brought it to the floor.
I didn't realize. So maybe there needs to be some sort of meshing, right, of that old one and the new one. So,
I think the reason before that we had it so vague was so it was a little more broad to interpret. Maybe it's too much though.
So the administration could set their own guidelines.
Right.
I still think this does. You know, it just puts them back to what the policy, I mean, what the procedure for, you know, being the visitor. But then on the other hand, you know, we talked about like, you know, the older people that come for senior luncheon and for, you know, that kind of stuff. And so, you know, that's just a fine line. But we should dive into that one a little bit more and see if there's.
Maybe we used to do one session and more examples to take a little more time. Here's specifically what you've seen and maybe examples. Just one.
Would you like me to reach out before that work session to other school districts and see what they have? No? Okay. I didn't know. She said some other examples, so.
Yeah,
It's here.
Oh, got
Here,
it. Sorry, I
exactly.
thought you meant something from another.
Well, you mentioned one scenario.
Yep.
So I was just thinking maybe others that you've seen that might.
Okay, got it.
Stories from the office.
Okay, so we are doing a first reading then for JB and JFCM. And we are doing KK, JHA, IIBGA, and AR at a work session.
You had CBA?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Wait,
Yeah.
that one a work session as well?
No, it's
No.
first
It's
reading.
the first reading, yeah.
So I have, yeah, CBA, IIBGA, not the AR. JB and JFCM.
I think we're gonna put both of those for work sessions. The policy and the AR.
They should be together.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So first reading would be CBA, JB, JFCM. Okay, thank you. We'll set our work session date at the end of the meeting. Next item would be item 3D, staff resignation. Yeah, we didn't mention it.
Yeah, so there's two that we have. One just came in last week, and that was Denise Dickey, who has been working in our office. She'd already resigned the volleyball position, so this is just the office spot. And then the other one is Laura Kohlmeyer, who was our instructional assistant. So those are the two. Again, I already said, our thank yous to them and we wish them the best. So those are our two resignations.
Well, I'm sad to see both leave, but I wish them the best. A big thank you for what they've brought to the district and our students.
I know my daughter was a little sad with one of them leaving, so
All right.
not that she wouldn't mind the other one. I mean, she liked the other one too, but before we worked with her every day, so it was a little different.
So now it's time for delegation of our visitors. This is time for our visitors to speak pertaining to items that are on the agenda for this meeting. Is there anybody who wishes to speak?
I apologize. You already dispersed this information somewhere else. The question is about the mask mandate and how what Perrydale's approach is. They do like Amity's approach.
We can discuss that during the patron input item number 7. Would that be okay?
My question was quick for that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then, consent agenda.
I'll move to on agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, just clarifying again what Katie had mentioned before about item D being the handbook with the noted changes.
And I did signal changes off to Cindy and CC myself on that.
Again, thank you for your hard work on that. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. We're moving along quick. We're getting closer to 7. 6A, sorry, which is actually now RFP, Regulated Material Services.
Yep, so HMK gave their report. They got 2 bids back from companies for the abatement project. So the first company, TBS Engineering, $13,000. So they are requesting the board award the Perrydale abatement project to TBS Engineering and Environmental Inc. At this board meeting for the not to exceed amount of $13,000. And then the information from them is behind there, the regulated materials. It shows a little bit about the people and then also the.
That was the boring part.
It was. And then some of the projects they've done. I do like looking at the projects they've done sometimes.
Okay, I did look at that.
Do you know what the other bid was for? I'm curious.
I do not know
That
exactly what that was. Yeah, they hire them usually, but I don't know exactly what it was.
Kind of, wasn't that part of our previous, the way that we chose to do the bids on this? We kind of delegated to them to sort through and bring us the best.
Yeah, the best thing for the buck and who they've worked with, et cetera. So,
So we don't have to look at a ton of independent.
And try to compare apples to apples.
More curiosity.
Yeah. Feel free to email them and ask how to start hearing for me.
probably for me last couple days. So.
I will move to award the RFP to for the Perrydale abatement project to CBS Engineering and Environmental Inc. in the amount not to exceed $13,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
RFP passes. And will you let,
How much detail do I need in that?
oh, any opposed? Apparently I forgot to ask if anybody was opposed. If I heard everybody say aye, I apologize.
And
Skip it.
thank you.
How much detail needs to be in that?
Just that it passed and her motion,
Amber made a motion to pass. Unanimous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's it. You need her to repeat it, because I'm not opposed to asking her to do that.
No, I
You have it.
I just have that 6B, Susan went over bid, Amber made a motion passed unanimously. Do I need more detail?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have the
Oh,
motion.
Yeah, all right.
So let me go back to this.
Got it. Okay, I'm
I'm
We
ready.
don't care what Dugan says, but I'm
That's
okay.
right.
I got it. All right. I move
Work.
to award the Perrydale abatement project to PBS Engineering and Environmental Inc. Not to exceed $13.
Okay. All right, item 6B, MOU for the classified staff.
Okay, I don't either. We don't have receipts.
Yep, I just sent that to you
It's
earlier.
in
I
your,
said that
it's in your email, and
Yeah.
I was just gonna go ahead and read it and tell you guys where this came from. So Dan called, and he had an employee that would, remember we discussed this at the last board meeting, employee that might be leaving just a little bit short, but was gonna stay through the end of the summer. So the way that our benefit package works, there's language in the teacher's contract, but not in our classified contract that allows Dugan to just go ahead and pay that benefit package out. So he called me to make sure I was okay with it, and past practice, it's what we've done. It's the right thing to do by our staff, it's good for retention. So we discussed that, hey, how about just a quick MOU with the classified, add the exact same language that's in the certified contract, and then that way, our administration can act accordingly for our employees.
And it makes it more clear for Lorraine too with what she does. And there's some vagueness there, so appreciate it.
Larry likes to solve them. We appreciate her.
That's a good thing, right?
We appreciate it.
Dot the i's, cross the t's. Good.
So do you guys want me to read it? I'll read it real quick. This memorandum of agreement is entered into and between the Board of Education on behalf of the Polk County School District Number 21 and Perrydale classified staff related to the district's obligation for premium payments. One, the district and PCS are parties to a meet and confer agreement with effective dates of July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2022. Classified staff members who work the entire contract year for their position shall be provided 12 months of benefit.
Just was asking a clarifying question. I thought we were referred to as a 21-day school district, and I wasn't sure if that was that's what's going on our district page. So
I'm okay with it.
yeah, it's fine. I am too. I just was asking a clarifying question.
So the second part, that's just the one sentence that has to be added
Right.
that makes it match identical to the certified contract.
And the first one just matches the contract.
Yeah, that's just, those are the dates.
Approve the MOU.
I'll move to approve the MOU for classified staff health benefit.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, would you like the motion read back?
I got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Do you need another copy of this to sign or?
I have one right here
Okay.
for you. Okay, so, now we're on to the fun part. 7, patron input.
My question was just in regards to the mask mandate and the first day of school are it's going to be required to wear masks. But what are the COVID-19 protocols? Like following?
You want to take this? You want me to take it? You want me to
Be
respond to
careful,
the person in
she's
the room, right?
delegating today.
I would love to delegate today. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that what people have to recognize is that sometimes there's been some language that schools have put out there recently and said that they're going to take a hard line, and that was before we had some other meetings with the state, and they told us what these uh, consequences will be for districts, and not even just districts as a whole with the fines, but also possibly going after individual teachers and administrators' licenses. And TSBC even came on to our meeting last week. Teacher Standards and Practice Commission. So they're the ones who give us our license. They have the right to take it away with cause. And what they said is we would not be following the ethical educator clause with our license if we didn't follow the rules. And not only that, then OSHA fines are the ones that are the heavy hitters. It's not so much the OHA fine of $500 per day per school. It's the OSHA fines, which they get you for, with staff members. And so the fines will range between $8,900 to $126,000 for school districts. Now, we would not fall in that $126,000 because we don't have 251 employees. But districts that have 251 employees or more, they've said that. Now, I know our board chair has had some conversation. I believe that you had some conversation possibly with some of our county commissioners. But you had said, I don't know if you
I've
can
had
speak to that.
conversations with our county commissioners, I've had conversations with legal, I've had conversations with surrounding superintendents.
And I've talked with superintendents, including those that have been more vocal about not following it. And again, that was before some of those consequences came out. The rule was explained to us a little bit better.
I'm pretty good about being blunt. I'll just jump into it. Jeff Clark from Amity on the Lars Larson show said he will follow the rule. He personally told me that he is not going to put his district or his job on the line. But he is taking a stance that we want local control. And we've done that. We've said and done the same thing. I spoke with our county commissioners why they aren't taking the same line as Yamhill County did with their letter. And basically, a couple of reasons. One, they met with the governor. All the commissioners have met with the governor. She was very adamant. She has legal authority through the Oregon Supreme Court in 2 areas, and those 2 areas are Oregon health workers, healthcare workers, and schools during school hours. And she's maintaining her authority to say it's a public health issue in those 2 areas and say you have to wear a mask. And when she was pushed in a particular meeting, when she was pushed to say, what are the requirements that you'll back off of this? She was like, I'm not backing off. So, my candid, and it sounds horrible, response to almost everybody is pretty simple. We're messed up here in Oregon. We should not have a supermajority. We should have a checks and balance, but we don't have a checks and balance. And that's our fault. And we as citizens need to do something about it. And it needs to start at the voting at the polls. Because she has ultimate authority in those 2 areas. And there's really nothing we can do. Sure, we could give a mandate to our superintendent. We could give him a directive. And we could tell him that we want masks to be optional at Perrydale. I'll pay all the fines that all you parents want me to pay. I don't care, it's just money. I'll pay fines. But what I'm not okay with is asking Dan or Christy or Aaron to give up their licenses, their careers that they've worked really hard for and they've put a lot of time and dedication in. I'm also really not okay with setting an example for our students to be lawless or to not follow the rules that are set forth in front of us, but rather teach them a path to create change in rules and in laws. So, I know it sounds kind of candid and silly, but we need to vote differently, and we need to speak about this, and we need to campaign about it, and we need to talk about the fact that local control has been stripped away from districts. And we're all pretty sad about it.
And our position was that we did want that local control. We had that as a district. We've said that and said that to other people that are decision makers in our state. But I think that when it push comes to shove, you're going to see these districts in line because, I haven't talked with one yet that said they're actually going to go against what the governor said. But it's, looks like it, but there was a clarifying statement that was released last week from some too, and you know, we're still waiting for some additional guidance from the state. I mean, we said it earlier today in our meeting. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we thought things were pretty smooth sailing, and then, you know, the last day of summer camp, then all of a sudden we get a curveball thrown at us, and you know, it's been a lot of time for a lot of people up here that we've been trying to deal with that, and it's on every family's mind. It's on our mind, and, you know, so it's right now a mandate, and we need to make sure, like all other private schools and public schools in the state, that we follow the mandate.
What about shutdown a bit still? Like, do we have a certain number?
There's no number. So there are certain questions that I asked Holt Gill, who's the director of OD, and that was one of those. What are the numbers? What are the marks? And there aren't any. And I don't think there's any stomach from the governor to want to do that. I'm not saying everybody in this room trusts the governor, and I understand that. I don't think there's any stomach for it at ODE. I don't think there is in our district for sure. And I think everybody agrees that the best place for kids is in the classroom itself. So I am very hopeful and optimistic that we will be in the classroom in person and letting our kids learn from our teachers. I mean, that's why we even rented portables and now bought it, but rented portables last year. We were trying to do whatever we could as a school district to create that space to get our kids in there. I was talking to somebody today whose grandkids went to McFinnville, and they had 2 hours and 15 minutes a day in the school, and half an hour or so of that, or 45 minutes, was snack and recess time outside. So they were doing an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes, whatever we were doing, you know, most of the day except for that last hour. So this year we plan on going all day, every day.
I just have one last question about vaccine mandates. I know the governor's mandated, like the executive branches will be vaccinated or prior. I should talk to in any of these meetings about vaccine mandates for like 12 to 18-year-olds.
Not at all. And that, I've asked that specifically to our local health authority if they've heard that. They have not heard that. So they don't see that coming. What's that?
Our Oregon
For
Health
12 years
Authority,
old? For 12-year-olds, Washington did it? For students. When was that? I know it's employees.
No, they
Oregon Health Authority made a statement that they don't foresee that happening until it's a FDA approved medication drug, just like the chickenpox, you know. So you'll have, you know, everybody has the right to their own health record and your own determination. And we do exclusions at school for vaccination records, but there's always, what's the right word for this? I guess I politically shouldn't call it a loophole.
Exemption.
Exemption. Thank you.
Well, I just was wondering what there's any talk about that at the higher level that I hadn't heard about.
And I haven't even heard about staff mandates yet, which other neighboring states have, you know, talked about in different areas and some with schools, but I have not heard the state of Oregon say anything about even staff being mandated. And they would go that route before they went to their children.
She has the authority over school districts, that's why it's only, Julie has authority over the executive branch, which they did last week, but not over school district
Yeah,
employees, legislative authorities.
Correct. Her area that she has authority over is public health. And so it's through the public health that she's able to say masks may be worn at school. She doesn't really have the authority over the school, so I highly doubt that's coming next. But with that said, we still need to start talking about the next governor and working together as citizens of the state of Oregon and changing our supermajority to have some equality and checks and balances in our political system, because politics shouldn't be part of education.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me about that or Trina too. I know, or any of it. But we're more than happy to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely,
Sure.
it's your time.
So right now it does not. That is not during the school day, and it's not a school learning activity. So one thing where it would fall into is after school activity type programs. Daycare type situations after school, it would fall under that where we would, but not for athletics this time. Now, right now, I mean that's for any kids that are participating while they're practicing or in a competitive game situation. Now, that being said, when they're on the bench, they'll have to have a mask on. The coaches have to have a mask on, but the student athletes do not. And, you know, I think that Perrydale, we tried to follow the rules as much as we could last year, but I think that all of us saw that the chin diaper while playing basketball was not an effective way to do anything except make sure that you covered your facial hair. So that's really, really hard for kids to be running around, you know, playing basketball or volleyball, you know, track. We even had it outside of track, right? You know, so those things have changed, and I'm thankful that none of that's come back into it. The basketball one, or indoor sports, I was surprised by, just because of past practice, but I was happy to see that, you know, they were considering that that would be very difficult for the kids to do. And then outside, they still don't have to. So during recess time, if they're outside eating lunch, you know, or eating lunch in general, but outside with their friends, and we got to try to make sure they're not, you know, holding hands 2 inches from each other, but at the same time, there's some, you know, option there for the kids to get outside.
Maybe it'd be good for us as a district to post on our website or on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel also what the county's guidelines are for us with should somebody become infected, what is the recommended time that is sitting out from school, right?
Yeah,
And you just got.
Yeah, so we just had a situation where we had a student athlete test positive for volleyball, or that's a volleyball player, and that student athlete was at both the high school and middle school camp. And so we had to, you know, essentially not quite shut down, but shut down volleyball for up to 10 days, depending on a few different categories. So I think that would be very helpful to put out, but that does really make it difficult. And if we don't have the masks on, then we are in a situation where they would shut down the whole classroom. If we have masks on, they would shut down the kids that were around that individual. So, you know, again, I know that some people have commented to me that their biggest priority is making sure that students are in the building and learning, and they may take a different position than others where they, you know, feel like that's a sacrifice for their kids that they're willing to make because they want their kids in the building and learning instead of having to do some other type of program. Hope that helps. Yeah, so we have a newsletter. We were saying earlier, I think it was before you guys got here, but we're putting a newsletter out there saying I'll have a map. We had Julia Wilson had it for us last year, so before she just went on a trip, she sent it to Christy and I. So we have 2 entrances. One's going to be over there by the modulars, and one's going to be the normal. So K through 3 is up the modulars, and then everything else will be right there. So it'll be like, but yes, we'll have the screening questions because we have. Well, the screening questions will have our sanitizer, hand washing. You know, it's a 3-foot rule now instead of 6 feet before. So they'll have breakfast in their classrooms, but then lunch will be inside the gym. We'll have 3 elementary classes spread out a little bit, and then 3 elementary classes. So that's the plan right now, unless we get told differently. But right now, that's what we plan. Yes, and that will be a little bit. There's a little bit more. It's easier to spread out in middle school, high school. Some meet out here, some meet in the middle, some meet out in the courtyard area that's got the rocks, some meet out in the front, And then we're putting in a little rock pad that we had, some area out there behind the science lab area where we have some spots for students to be able to eat as well. So trying to create some of that space for everybody to be able to eat from inside or they can choose outside. Yeah. Great, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so we will. It's not even finished with the design phase yet, and that's what they just finished up. So I think once we're done with that, we would probably look to get that out more. We had talked about that as a group that when we were, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, once we were done with this phase, that we had something that was more conceptual that we could put out. And just a little update on that, we do have the first 2 months of school, or first month for that situation. There's a lady that works for Salem Hospital, Salem Health, who's coming in working with our middle school kids and then our high school kids on that very issue. So she's coming in doing that, and then she's also doing a driving safety thing for our high school students. She gives that presentation at driver's ed, but distracted driving. It's not so much just drinking and driving. It's more this than anything. But she'll come in and work there. And she does this with schools all throughout the region. Kathy Thompson is actually the one who got us hooked up with her. And then she'll be doing another one about vaping and illicit drugs with our middle school kids. So we'll have 2 things for middle school, 2 things for high school.
Anybody else have any questions or any comments they want to share with the board? Okay, moving on, item 8, board comments. It's your turn.
Madam Chairperson, please accept my letter as formal notice of my resignation from the school board position number 4 from the Perrydale School District. I'm not going to get through this. Effective 8/17/2021. This date is flexible if needed for the board to appoint my replacement. After a period of careful consideration and with the urging of medical advice, I regretfully need to resign. Could you please finish for me?
I have a strong desire to serve my community and the students at Perrydale currently, and long before my run to the board position, as I know many of you feel the same way or same desire as well. I know that several board members have served for many, many years, and I need to express my love and appreciation to each of you for the time and sacrifice that you have made to serve all of us. I will always appreciate your help in teaching, sharing, and guiding me as a new school board member with a steep learning curve to climb. I ask that each of you challenge your longevity and consider allowing others the opportunity to serve as they respect you enough not to run against you. Continue to ponder and listen, and I know that you will be guided and directed as you do. I know that you will all do great things as you focus on becoming a team that includes each member as an equal contributor. valuing their perspective, input, and suggestions. As you do this, I know you will become the great board that listens, speaks respectfully to each other, and builds each other up as you meet the needs of the students who are blessed to attend this wonderful school district. I need to thank the Perrydale community for trusting me to listen to your concerns, challenges, and successes, then translate them into action. I have heard you and want you to know how much I wish I could continue to stand up to what I hear your needs are. Contact your board members often and don't be hesitant to share your concerns, opinions maybe.
Sorry.
It's okay, opinions, successes, and needs for your kids. This will help the board become even better when they hear from you. To your superintendent, I need you to know how much you amaze me, and I think you keep our kids as your focus always, as it should be. Continue to help the board remember to be patient with you as you face the steep learning curve. You stepped up at this unprecedented and uncertain time, and you have my gratitude and support as you lead our district forward. Respectfully, Jim Morrison. Sorry.
Thank you, Dan. That's my comment.
Thank you, Jen. Is there any other comments at this time? Okay, we'll move on to item 9, announcements and dates of importance. Before we discuss each of these, could we set some dates? Sounds like we need to have well, first of all, we need to schedule a work session for our transition program, working with our superintendent. And we also need to, once the guidance is back from OSBA, we need to discuss our vacant board position.
Is that something you want me here for?
As soon as I get guidance back, yeah, maybe we would like you to attend the work session.
Either way. Okay. Let me know.
And then we need to schedule a work session for our policy.
Do you want to do one of them back to back?
We sure can. We probably could do our policy and our board position one night, one meeting, one work session.
Did you want to schedule that transition program in terms of time?
I think that the transit. Do you remember what you said? How much
It
time?
is long.
Yeah.
Do that over.
It's longer than I thought.
Are they gonna do it in person?
That's,
They are allowed to do in-person training.
Okay.
we put that in our contract.
Right, that's what I was
Yeah.
What about Monday the 30th? It's our first day of staff, but I'm fine after that in the evening.
Which
Did Mondays work best for everybody?
That's great. Oh, as I say that, I'm actually out of town. That's why there's nothing
Oh,
on my
it's
calendar
great,
that
yeah.
day. It was totally open, but no, I have to be in Pittsburgh. I have to be in Pittsburgh. I'd much rather be here.
I don't see where you said how much time we need for the transition program.
He may not. I thought he said it was a couple hours. But maybe
But I think it's an hour and a half at least.
So there's 2 dates, one for transition program and one for policies / board seats.
Katie, what are the dates that you're going to be on?
I am on Monday. So that's
What about later that same week? I mean, I hate to. I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday that week works for you.
First week of September?
Yeah, so basically
I'm
that
good with
first or
it.
second. Katie,
For the transition.
you're getting back to me.
I would prefer my Thursday,
Thursday, yeah.
second, if that works. with me.
And is that for the transition or the
He
policy?
emailed
/
me and
board
asked me to pick 2 dates.
The policy and
So the second is we're looking at the second at 6 p.m. for policy and what? And board seat. 6 you said? I said 6. that okay?
I'm not available on that day, but that's okay. I think you guys can move forward.
Okay. So the next one, we probably should pick 2 dates. He sent me an email, said send a couple, is what he said. Send me a couple of dates, and I'll see if I can make those work. So I was thinking sometime early September and mid-September, but it's up to you guys. This is Steve Kelly, is our transition program with our new superintendent. Will guide us through our board evaluation, self-evaluation, and guide us through an evaluation process for students.
What about on the 20th if we did it earlier and we had dinner? I mean, I'm not saying I have to give dinner all the time, but I'm saying that's one night instead of 2 nights plus the work. I don't know if that works for work schedule.
Friday?
No, I was talking about September 20th as the second date.
Oh.
She had
Our
said
board-
something about,
Board meeting day.
yeah, so I don't know if that's something we can inquire how long it is. And if it is something that's an hour and a half, I don't know. Maybe that's too much that night. I get that.
Tyler's birthday, so anything you want to do to take my mind off it is a good idea. So that's fine with me.
We're volunteering that day.
I'm good with it. Keep me busy that day.
So maybe that's a good second date or first date. It sounded like we were trying to do by the end of the
Yeah, I can do that.
So is that our second date or our first date? We want to see about the 13th on the 20th? All of them.
I was gonna say, how about the 14th? Katie,
Yeah, I is that about like an hour?
I think it's about an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what.
So 14th and then the 20th?
Okay, I'll send him an email. I'll send him an email as soon as we hear back. I'll have to send that out for sure. Cindy, okay? So the other dates of importance is the staff in service from August 30th to September 3rd. Will there be a staff meeting where you want any other board coming and saying
Well,
hi?
that's one of the things we talked about today. We wanted to throw that your way. It's up to you folks. We have done a luncheon before and we have that on Wednesday. You know, we've done everything from pizza to, we did a big, smoked, meat last time and all that. That may be a little bit much without Mr. Brown here anymore. But, we did some pizza with fixins at the last school day this year from Wallery's, and that seemed to be well received. Obviously, I love Jimmy John, so I do that. And then, we could do the grilling. It's just, we don't know what's going to be on sale that week, so it's kind of hard to say. So if you folks want to do lunch dot on that Wednesday, that's great, but we didn't know if that's something you'd be interested in being a part of. So it may not work for some of you folks, but we wanted to throw it your way.
Wednesday the 1st, September 1st.
And I know you're out of town.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'll be fun.
And the reason we chose one of those the first 3 days, because that's when we have all our staff here, whereas on Thursday and Friday, we don't have the classified staff here.
Okay.
FaceTime good.
September 7th is the first day of school for 7th through 12th grade, and then there's conferences for the kindergarten through 6th. September 8th is the first day of school for 1st through 6th grade, and conferences again for the do we call them kinder bears anymore?
I refrain from doing that. I may say kinder, but kinder bears is not my vernacular.
We used to call them that.
That was, yep. One of my former bosses called them kinder bears all the time.
All my kids were K-Bears. September 10th. September 10th, we do have Friday school. September 10th is also a football game, and we're having the PTC barbecue, which is wonderful, and we want to invite everybody to it. And then September 20th, we're doing a work session of some nature with a regular board meeting at 7. And of course, potential dates for the 14th. And what other day did we say?
The second.
20th.
The 2nd.
We've got the 14th or the 20th for the transition, and the policies/board seat on the 2nd.
At 6 p.m.
Yep. No time listed for the 14th or 20th.
Not yet, yeah. Is there any other additions to that? Okay. With that, meeting is adjourned at 8:45. Thank you for
Great.
being here.
Yeah, thank you all.